presentation. I haven't seen this presentation. I don't know if he's going to go into it. I know he's worked on this about 20 years. How long have you worked on this? About 20 years?
I started about 2000.
16 years. He didn't just, this is not something that just came up 3 years ago, right? 16 years he's been working on this, right, analysis, and it's finally come to fruition. And so you're going to see everything. I hope you're going to really get to show all of the research. It's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to see it. Okay, so really the thing that got me about this method is this, is like I had no clue. He's going to talk about the first engine, the second engine, and Richard, you can correct me if I'm still right. The first engine, I had no clue what it was, and I finally figured it out. The axis, I want to take away to it, is this movement here. I'm not doing it great, but this here is so freaking key. It's so freaking important. I mean, I never did that. I would just like this, I just want like this, right? And that's like what the amateurs do instead of boom. And you'll see he's going to talk about we'll use it like that, right? Show this. This is the first engine, right?
That's the second engine.
Second engine, I reverse it. Second engine, I reverse it.
I've worked with some guys this week. It's difficult to understand at first, but when you understand it, it's real easy to do. Okay, so if you're gonna spend time trying to develop a swing, why not develop the swing that Barry and Manny and A-Rod and you know, all the greats with Agon. I think Ron wants me to show you this. This is my beginning. Okay, that's Ryan Howard. That's me on the right, and I'm trying to duplicate Ryan Howard in my basement. I'm possessed. I've got 2 sons, both of them behind their age group in their ability, and we're trying to catch up, and I'm trying to learn the swing, and I'm possessed. I'm a dad possessed to help his kids. So, as you can see in this one, Ryan Howard is swinging down to the ball, but his barrel goes up through the ball. And I'm trying to duplicate it, and I'm going down to the ball and down through the ball, okay? That swing plane difference is huge. And we'll get into that a lot, but that video is just to show a little bit of what I did to learn what I've learned. Here's me trying to imitate Jim Edmonds. Good cardinal, great player. I'm starting to learn a few things, but I'm still pretty much down to, down through. Jim's down to and up through. And then I start to figure a few things out. And this is just a one-hand swing by me, but watch my barrel path in relation to my body compared to Bonds' barrel path in relation to his body. Okay? The importance here is that there's depth of the barrel back here. There's barrel speed behind you. Okay? And that was what I first noticed when I started my quest is these guys' barrel is blurring out back here behind them. It's not blurring out here, it's blurring out back there. And that blur in the video represents speed. So somehow or another, they are generating some speed behind them. And I couldn't do it doing that. I couldn't do it pulling with my arm. I couldn't do it pushing with my top hand. So the very first thing I discovered, and Ron alluded to it, is this action here has to be happening somehow to get this barrel to have speed behind it. Okay? Well, it's not a totally weak feeling, but it's not enough, okay? But I sold out to that, and I tried to figure out how they were doing that. So the first thing I call that the hand pivot point. Here's a good example. And he's turning this barrel down like this, and then he's letting it out to the ball. Well, I could never get this speed here and do that because I was pushing my barrel out to the ball instead of turning my barrel out to the ball, okay? Notice that this barrel remains perpendicular to his forearm for a long time. Forearm, barrel remains perpendicular to it, okay? That was another big thing to me because I had, my arm's always coming down like this, and I'm pushing the barrel forward with my top hand like that. And yet, Manny's barrel, or bat, stays perpendicular to the forearm all the way around. Getting a home run over the Green Monster in Boston, Notice at the very beginning of his swing, until about right here, he still has this relationship, but the ball's way out there, and he goes like that and hits the ball over the green monster opposite field. How does he get speed to do that? How does he get barrel speed to do that? Okay? It's like a flick of the wrist or something, and how does it go so far? So I'm studying all of this, trying to figure out how they, okay, I'm convinced that I've got to keep my barrel perpendicular to my forearm, but I'm not figuring out how to generate any bat speed with that. Albert and Agon and Ted and Mickey and all these guys. All these guys had a common theme. Even though they got there differently, they had a common load, position, and a common barrel path through their swing. Okay? Pujols, if you can, the clip moves kind of fast, but can you see that that barrel stays perpendicular to his rear forearm almost all the way through the swing? Okay? He's got what I call the diagonal swing path. He comes through the zone like this. Yet Stanton is mostly horizontal. He comes through the zone like this. Okay, and that's what I was taught as a kid. Probably most of you were taught a level swing plane. That's a spinal axis. Okay, most people will tell you the body works its best from a spinal rotation standpoint. But none of those people have ever swung the bat like the pros did. Okay, the difference between what the greats do and what the almost greats do starts with the hand pivot point, the barrel pivoting around the rear forearm. Okay? Now, also in this clip, you can tell, if you look real close, Stanton swings from two legs, Albert swings from one leg. Now, clearly both legs are on the ground, so what am I saying? Watch Stanton, when he picks up his foot and moves forward, he shifts his weight to his front leg, then swings. Can you see that? Okay. Watch Pujols. He coils around his rear leg, and his front leg never gets weighted until the bat is swung. So it's like Pujols is like this. He coils like this, and he swings from there, and the act of swinging the bat is what weights his front leg. Okay? You see that? Here's Stanton. Strides out, gets the weight shift forward, swings around his spine. Pujols, I can never get his stance right, but I can get his upper body pretty good. Okay? Again, he's got the forearm axis, and he's doing it from one leg. One weighted leg. How do I know the weight is back? You've seen clips maybe of Roberto Clemente, Stan Musial, Will Clark, tremendously large strides. Here's how you tell where the weight is. That's about as long a stride as I can do. That's about as long a stride as I can do. My weight is still back. I still got a load in this leg. I can't do anything from this position, don't get me wrong. But the way you know where the weight is what's going on right here. When they pull their SCAP back, they are arresting their forward momentum. They're keeping the load in their leg all the way as long as they possibly can. So they've got their load here. If it's a fastball, they unload instantly. If it's a changeup, they just glide on a little more and then they unload, but they do not let that weight shift until they swing the bat. Pitchers are pretty good. They'll get you to your front leg sometime before you want to. Tip your hat to them, they got me. Yes.
Question you won't be able to answer. That Barry Bonds is hitting.
Okay. So I touched on the hand pivot point and the one-leggedness of the swing. I want to go into more of the one-leggedness of the swing. Oh, one more thing on the hand pivot point. Ron put this clip up a minute ago. It's just a still picture. But along with the hand pivot point, the concept of the hand pivot point, when I'm in my stance with the hand pivot point, I'm on plane before I do a thing. And here's why. And this is what this video, this picture shows. I'm loaded, If the pitch is right there, I turn the barrel right there. It's my hands. Turn the barrel right there. If the pitch is down on this next ray down, pitch is right there, I turn the barrel right there. If it's the next one down, the low and away, I turn the barrel right there. I'm doing the same thing. My barrel is turning around my rear forearm for each of these locations. Okay, low and in. That adjustability, you don't have to bend your spine or bend over or raise up or whatever. The swivel will swivel to the ball when you learn to do it right. Okay? That right there is everything in the swing. So, when you're in your stance, technically, you're on plane for whatever pitch comes. Okay? You turn the barrel rearward like this, and you can adjust it on the fly to that pitch, or that pitch, or that pitch without any other movement. And he has an up move, barrel tip up move, and until he launches, he's one-legged. And when he launches, the leg comes down. Okay? Think about it. All these great hitters, if they had to plant their front leg first and then pull off their swing, does it even make logical sense to you? You got a pitcher throwing 95 and he's got an 84 changeup and he's got a slider that moves everywhere. How in the heck can you get your front leg down on time? By on time, when you watch these guys' foot come down, their foot is coming down and waiting as they hit the ball, as they swing. I'm not talking about on time like real early so that it's down, so that I can be ready. I'm talking about when you watch the clips, that foot gets down the instant they swing the bat. Are they putting it down then swinging? How do you do that against 95 and the next pitch 85? I don't think it's possible. I think the swing is putting the foot down.
And do you see, or you talk about a lot of adjustment as far as holding that coil longer for the off speed so that way you can
Absolutely.
swing when you get down?
I'll do my favorite Longoria imitation here. What's going on in this hip socket is huge. Okay, notice that as I'm moving out, I'm pulling back like this. And this movement arrests that forward momentum. This movement controls my move out.
For every inch you move forward.
Every unit I move forward, I got to battle it with an inch pulling back. Okay? Can you see that? I'm going back like this as I'm moving out. What most amateur hitters do is they'll load back first and then they'll move out. Can you see the difference in what happened in my leg? Load and move out, I land square. I never got any kind of hip opening. But if I pull back as I go out, what happens? I land open. You've got to land open because that's what you stretch against. Okay? This pulling back like this and landing like that, you've got to stretch up your back that will drive. Feel Adrian move out. As he moves out, how does it feel? Don't just look at it, feel it. It's just a little click back, little coil, move out as you go, and he lands open. Like this, which is the stretch, which is the missing frames that Ron mentioned about. The missing frames that are absent in so many amateur hitters is the stretch. When I load here and then move out, nothing moved, nothing turned. But when I pull back and load, this leg turns down as I pull back, and then when I swing, watch the two pivot points. This one's going to go like this, and that one's going to go like that. They're going to go simultaneously, but what's really special is when you turn this barrel really fast, the weight and speed and direction of this barrel that way stresses this leg even more. And when that barrel gets flat, the amount of resistance going that way goes to zero, and that leg just whips you through the zone. It's like magic. These guys here, some of these guys have felt it.
So
It's
it's
like
not
magic.
a conscious open your hips, turn.
You never open your hips.
The only active part that initiates the swing is the swivel.
That's right. When you've got this stretch going on right here, I'll do the Longoria again. When you've got that kind of stretch going right here, the go move is this. Not bad for 62.
Is that in the machine?
Not bad for 62.
Is that in the machine? By your elbow flap into
Let's
your
talk about
ribcage?
it. I'm glad you said that because I forgot to mention the words. Ron mentioned it. It's adduction of the upper arm. Adduction is bringing it to your body. Abduction is taking it away from your body. So you adduct your forearm. At the same time you supinate. You adduct your upper arm. At the same time you supinate your forearm. Watch it in full speed or partial speed. This is the move right here. Okay? When you do that with stretch, the bat just explodes to the zone. If you don't have the stretch, it's not going to explode. Everything's important, every detail's important. But this is the trigger. And technically, the swing is over from an energy standpoint, production, right there. You've done everything you can do. You've stretched, you've launched the barrel there, and at that point, that leg just fires you through.
I don't know if I'm getting ahead of you here, if you're going to touch on this, but when you're at max coil, the relationship between your femur and your hips, does that change at all from there? Like, I know the whole assembly opens, it's still IR the whole time?
That's a good question, and I confused these guys earlier this week, so I'm going to talk about it. We're not quite into the stretch area yet. I'm going to talk about it in a minute.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
One more one-legged swing to show you.
That was a funny one.
I'm a little ahead of myself.
You have that golfer?
Not ready to do the stretch yet. This is a high school coach in Kansas City who met me in Columbia, Missouri, and we didn't have a facility, so we just swung in the parking lot. We're a high-class, high-budget operation here. Okay? The one-legged drill, which he's doing, is a great drill because obviously you don't have your lead leg to get in the way. You've got to learn to do it. And he's doing it wrong in this swing. He's going like this and pushing his arms forward, right? You see that? All right, that's no different than two legs doing the same thing. After I worked with him for a few minutes and I convinced him that he had to use his back instead of his chest. Now what do you see?
Yeah.
Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
Maybe I can get them both to play. I don't know if they'll both play or not. How does that feel? You can see it, I know.
Sure.
But how does it feel? On the left, on the right, a good swing. His hip socket, he's one-legged, and his hip socket is rotating like this around the ball of his femur. It's a little bit of an exaggeration. It's this. Okay? On the left, he doesn't have any of that action at all. He has nothing like this going on. Instead, he's just standing there like this and pushing out of his hip. Okay? The relevance of this lift is huge that you'll understand as we go on along. I'm going to demonstrate what he's doing with two legs, and that's this right here. I'm getting my rear hip socket to revolve around the ball of my rear femur. I first coil, and then I lateral tilt, and then I go like that. Okay? And the power of that is from right here, which is the position all hitters get into, I can hit any ball in the zone. Okay? Here I am. I can hit the low and away. Here I am again. Hit the up and away. Here I am again. I can hit the up and in and keep it fair. Okay? And I can hit the position again. I can get the low and in and keep it fair. My swivel took me to all those locations, and it could do that because my hip can go to each location because I'm one-legged. Boom, for that one down there. Boom, for that one up there. Boom, for this one up here. And boom, for that one down there. Now I want you to show me how your hips can do that from two legs. The only thing your hips can do from two legs is rotate and pull you off the ball. That's all they can do. They do provide some power, but two-legged hip rotation, when it's at its most powerful point, you're going that way. Okay? So with two-legged hip rotation, ball's outside, you're going to flare it to the opposite field. If it comes down the middle, you might hit it really well. If it comes inside, you're going to hook up the foul and strike one. Your hip and leg has to be able to go through the ball to provide power into the ball. Okay? If it's not doing that, you're not going to be able to generate any pop. This drill, even the guys that work with me might look like that. Okay? But this is what it has to feel like inside your swing.
This is
If I
awesome.
haven't convinced you yet, this should.
Oh,
This guy's a hell of a golfer. I'm not saying he's a pro. He's a hell of a golfer. How the hell does he do that? Okay? Well, tee's on the ground. Not too bad, huh? He didn't fall over though, did he? All right? What's going on in my hip socket to be able to do that? What's going on with my load? What's going on with the leg to be able to generate that kind of power? Okay? That proves one-leggedness to me. Now, baseball player, your tee's up here. Okay? Not a bad swing for one leg, is it? Okay? Now, again, I'm not selling you on standing one leg in the batter's box. What I'm selling you on is this feeling and how important that feeling is and how the hip socket and the leg works. With two legs, you'll never get your rear hip socket and your rear leg to work properly. Two-weighted legs, I mean.
So this, Rich, is one leg.
This is the rear leg, the rear hip socket.
Right.
Working around the ball fiber. Now I know the skeleton
This would
actually looks a little different.
This looks something like this.
Well, I use the word fall over the cliff a lot. When I load up and want my hitter to laterally tilt their torso, I want them to fall over the back of that cliff. That's an exaggeration, but look what happened when I do it full speed. You probably won't even be able to tell that I laterally tilted. Now you can tell. But what happens is, I get here, and I'm actually doing this, but when I do that, that snaps this leg around. I'll do it with the barrel so you can see that even though I'm laterally tilting my torso over the ball of the femur, the swing plane is not excessively uppercut. When a coach tells you not to dip your rear shoulder because you're going to pop balls up, anybody that swings with two legs in a spinal rotation, it's true. But anybody that swings from one leg with two pivot points stretched between each other, it's false. In fact, this move here is probably, along with this happens simultaneously. It's the launch of the swing, and that launch, that direction, tightens the stretch in the leg and makes your swing even more explosive through the zone. Okay? Even though you're laterally tilting your torso like this, you're not going to be swinging up in the air like you might think you do.
this one's great too.
Hitting a forearm. What does that feel like in his rear leg? I've never played much tennis, but he's standing here open. He's not standing like a batter's box, position. He's standing here open, and he gets this stretch. His hip coils against his leg. The leg resists that coil. The leg wants to go this way when the hip's going that way, and that racket just whips through the zone. From one leg, he can create that stretch around his rear leg with his hip and back muscles, and that's exactly what you have to do in the batter's box. You have to create that kind of stretch to create the sudden, snappy launch that you need to hit. I have a stretch and fire drill. This is my son, my guinea pig. Okay? We spent a lot of time together. We hated each other at times. We loved each other at times. And I'm going to tell you, when he got this swing and he hit a ball in a gap and slid into second base, the first thing he did is look for my eyes in the crowd, and that's powerful. Okay? Because this kid couldn't hit a ball off a tee as a freshman in high school. This is what I call the stretch and fire drill. Pitcher's over there, and you stand facing him. You learn to create that same stretch that I just showed you with Rafael Nadal. And instead of swinging a tennis racket, you swing the bat through the zone. Okay? You can't get a more snappier launch than that. I'm not saying he's the greatest athlete you've ever seen. I'm saying that technique. You can't get any snappier technique than that. When you load around this rear leg like this, and then launch your barrel rearward, send that barrel this direction, tightens that stretch even more, and that bat just whips through the zone. Okay? It's the mechanical advantage of the high-level swing. It provides effortless power. See this weekend? It's excellent.
Oh yeah, this is awesome.
The kid on the right, his hips are turning in a mostly horizontal plane, and his upper body swings in a mostly horizontal plane. He has no stretch. Okay, that's what Sam's doing. Hips are rotating like this, swing planes like that. The hips aren't doing anything but providing momentum. They're not really pulling anything. They're just providing momentum. And he swings with his upper body in a mostly horizontal plane. On the left, this is a huge exaggeration, but it's exaggerated for a purpose. Because that's what you try to do, even though your body can't do that. The blue line, his hips are coming around like this. And the vertical plane, he's trying to launch the barrel behind him. Okay? Now what is behind him? Okay? Now what is behind? Behind is determined by your hand set. If I'm Manny and my hands are here, behind is right there, perpendicular to my forearm. Okay? If I'm Barry and I'm tipping the bat like this, behind is more here, perpendicular to my forearm. If I'm Albert and standing here like this, perpendicular to my forearm is more like that. Perpendicular forearm determines what is back and what is forward. And that's all determined by your hand set. Okay? Guys stand in all kinds of different ways. So, this completely vertical disc is an exaggeration, but it's done that so you can understand that it's a completely different direction than the horizontal disc. Okay? And that vertical disc, in reality, depends on your hand set, how you stand. But in all cases, it's perpendicular to the forearm. Okay? So when I'm standing here in the zone, or in the batter's box, and I'm going to launch like this. Okay? If I'm Barry, okay, I'm going to launch this way. But this plane, this disc here, compared to this disc here, as they go against each other, they create a stretch between them. One of the words I use is torsion spring. The torsion spring, I've been put on top of Albert there. The bottom little trigger, or bottom little lever of the torsion spring is his coil against his leg. This is big. When you coil, so many people don't coil properly. And the key to a good coil is when you coil, this foot has to feel like it wants to snap back like that. It won't because you're weighted on it. But it's got to have tremendous pressure right here on your toes, outside of your foot. Okay? If you don't have that kind of pressure, you don't have any coil that's worth anything. Coil, my foot wants to snap like that if I unweight it, okay? This right here is the bottom of that torsion spring, okay? Notice that I can do that without much shoulder movement. My foot wants to snap really bad right now. My shoulders haven't moved at all because I'm turning just my pelvis around the rear leg. I'm not turning the pelvis around the spine from two legs. I'm turning the pelvis around the rear leg. It pivots in the rear hip socket and it puts tremendous pressure on my foot at the ground.
What percent of your weight is on your back foot right there?
How much?
What percent of your weight is on your back foot?
These guys
Roughly.
asked me this yesterday.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about feel, I'm going to talk about video.
Okay.
From feel, it feels like every bit of my weight.
Really? Uh-huh.
From video, clearly my front foot is on the ground and clearly it's
Right.
providing
Yeah.
a little balance for
Yeah.
me. I'm not standing here like this. In fact, I can't even create that kind of load without my front leg on the ground. But from feel, it feels like everything is here.
Lift your easily right from that position.
What?
Lift your front foot now.
You want me to show them the spring? Is that what you want to do? Here's what the feeling you would like to aspire to. Coil into that leg, lift that front leg, and you spring over.
Oh wow, I never saw that. That's good.
Okay? You know you got a good coil when your leg works like that. Coil into it, lift that leg. I'm not moving me. I'm not doing anything extra to get me to move. I am coiling into this leg so strong that this leg is fighting it by wanting to go that way. Now I confused my hitters earlier this week. I told them you coil your hip against the internal rotation of the leg. And so they're trying to do both. They're trying to turn their leg and coil their hip. And they stand there like they got no spring. Okay? My words were not specific enough. The coil against the foot is everything. Once you're coiled, the leg reacts to it. It's not two separate moves that you try to create at the same time. That make sense? Because when you try to coil and internal rotate your leg at the same time, you just don't get anywhere. Okay? So the strong move is the coil against the leg, putting pressure, keeping your knee as straight as you can. You don't want your knee to go back like that. Keeping your knee straight, putting as much pressure on that foot as you can, so that when you lift your foot, you spring open. Okay?
So,
Now,
I'm sorry. So you're not. Your foot is naturally going back like that.
it what?
When you lift that foot, that's just natural. You're not doing that. You're not doing any muscular movement to get that
Let's see
foot.
my spring again?
Well, I mean, it looks like a magic
Talking about my
almost.
foot or my spring?
Yeah. Now, when you lift that foot, you're not doing any. You're just letting your muscles relax.
Yeah, watch how fast I can spring if I really coil. Okay? That's
Yeah. No,
puts
I've
stress
never
on
seen that
leg.
before. That's awesome.
Now that's too much coil for a swing, but this one's not too much. Right? And I spring open this, spring open
Now,
this.
can you do it with no? Can you do it with no coil?
What?
Just lift your foot. Just do like a normal, like 95% of the hitters do. With no coil there, and lift your
No
leg.
coil?
Yeah, and lift your leg.
Nothing happens.
See, nothing of that, right?
You got no coil, nothing happens. Now, what's significant about that? Anybody that's played a little ball, how many times have you been right here and fouled that ball right straight back to the screen? You're just a tick late, right? What if this leg uncoiled is instant and you don't have to worry about it? It's going to take a pretty good pitcher for you to miss that ball, okay? Because in your old swing, you had to generate movement. In your new swing, it's like stepping on the people mover at the airport. It's instant. You're not doing it. You kind of did it. You created the load that resulted in it. But when I'm here and I go to swing and my leg instantly turns open and I don't have to turn it open myself, it's huge. We're talking about, as the slide said, 30th of a second. A good swing, high-level swing, 30 frame per second video. A good swing is between 4 and 5 frames of video. Okay? So we're talking 4/30ths, which is what, 2/15ths of a second for a good swing to be pulled off. And that's what I'm talking about from go, not including the load. So if at 2/15ths of a second you were a tad late because you were having to generate some movement on your own consciously, how much quicker are you when that movement happens instantly without conscious thought because of the loading that you've done?
The testimony of what you're saying is when a guy is 34 years old, square cat now, this is he's playing that line drive that you got.
Okay? That's the bottom of that torsion spring. This is the bottom of that torsion spring. The top of the torsion spring is up here in your back and your scap. And this gets a little confusing at times. You pinch your scap to your spine or you clamp it down. You can't have a floppy arm and a floppy scap. If you want this energy here of this leg to get to your barrel, it passes through the scap spine junction. And if your scap spine junction is not clamped down tight or pinched or whatever the right word is, the energy from your leg dissipates right out that joint and never gets to your barrel. Okay? If you want that to get to your barrel, you get your bottom of your torsion spring, and then you get the top of your torsion spring. What did I do there? Watch my scap. Bottom, top. Can you see that? It's not a big movement. I didn't move my arms at all. Okay? I just tighten it up. Jonas from Johns Hopkins yesterday, he used the word set up your back. I thought that was a good tip, a good word. It's not a load. You hear a lot of people talk about loading your scap. I hate the word scap load because a load unloads, right? We don't want the scap to unload. We don't want the hip to unload. When our hip coils like this and we pinch our scap back like this, we've got a spiral load up the rear side of our body, putting pressure on our foot at the ground. And if we let this happen, which is the hip unloading, or if we let this happen, which is the scap unloading, we've just given up all that we earned. We got nothing from our rear leg right now. Okay? So it's not a load that unloads. It's a coil that stays coiled. It's a clamp or a pinch that stays clamped. And when I do this, I come all the way through here and neither of them have unloaded yet. You say, well, wait, your hip is turned. What turned my hip? My hip is still here, but my leg turned it. My hip coiled and it became a fused unit with my leg. It's now a unit, it's a hip leg. It's not a hip and a leg, it's a hip leg, okay? When I maintain that coil and my leg turns me like this, I'm still coiled, but now I'm facing this way. When I pinch my scap or hold my scap here and turn, I'm still pinched, but I'm facing that way. You've got to keep those things tight or you're going to give up what you earned in your leg, okay? Probably can't see that when I swing, but the suddenness of my launch is very, very much tied to this foot right here, and I can't get that foot to my scap, to my barrel, if I get weak here or if I get weak in my scap. It won't get there. It'll dissipate throughout your body and you'll end up pushing the barrel with your hands. That's the importance of the torsion spring.
Richard, is there a natural place to take a break?
Here's the two pivot points with stretch between them. The vertical gear on the on the right side there is this. It's the lateral tilt and the turning of the barrel. Okay? The bottom gear is your coil and then your leg turning you forward like this. Okay? This is the bottom gear. This is the top gear. When I put them two together, you get a sudden snap out of them. This one going this way and this one turning this way. You got your two pivot points working at the same time but against each other. This one's creating energy that way. This one's creating energy that way, and it's like pulling your rubber band apart and snapping it. Okay? And it's huge. The launch of the swing is sudden, instant. If I can't do anything for you more this weekend but convince you that you have to be as quick as you can be to swing, then I've helped you a lot. You have to be as quick as if you're playing pinball and you push that button and that flipper flips. It's instantaneous, right? It happens instantaneously. When I'm in my stance and ready to swing and I decide to swing, boom, it has to go. If not, the pitcher's going to eat me up. I can't be here waiting for the ball and then decide to swing and then do something to swing. I have to have all that done already. All that's got to be out of the way. So how do you do that? The only way you can do that is stretch yourself. You can't stand back here completely loaded like a statue, and then swing your back. You've done a lot of things right, but you didn't stretch. You didn't create this kind of stretch.
You were all arms on that.
I was all arms on that. There is no load in the swing. There's just loading. It's continuous. Okay? It's continuous. You don't load, stop, swing. It's continuous. And it's continuous, Ron had on his slideshow, around. Okay? So many hitters load back like this, hold it, and all they can do is push forward. Load back, hold it, push forward. The great hitters pull back and just keep going around. Okay? And that's a stretching process. Can you see the difference? Hold it, push it. I kept pulling back and then I just kept going around. Okay? I'm pulling back with my hip against my leg, my back up into my SCAP, and I just let it come on around. I don't come back here, stop, and then redirect forward. I come back here, I keep pulling around, and I just go on around. And that stretches my leg, whips the barrel through the zone.
Can you check swing?
What?
A check swing with your method.
Check swing. Okay. You start the barrel around, you can still pull it up. How am I going to check this swing if I've already launched it? It's impossible. The stretch process, when you stretch and go to swing and then check it, you just kind of go limp in your body. And you dissipate the stretch. And the barrel doesn't snap through the zone. Okay? Instead of letting it go on through, you kind of do the same thing, and then you just kind of hard to explain, you just kind of go limp. And you can check your swing. Ryan's finished his first year in Class A ball this year. He went a scholarship to San Diego University. Played with Chris Bryant, I believe his first year. Chris is 2 or 3 years older than him. This is the Happy Gilmore drill. It's a great drill. I want you to feel what it feels like in his rear hip socket. Clearly, he's one-legged for the vast majority of that clip. And clearly, in my opinion, his lead leg doesn't straighten until it snaps, which is long after the launch. Okay? The launch shifts his weight. Giancarlo shifts his weight, then swings. The weight shift is not part of his swing. Albert shifts as he swings. The weight shift is part of his swing. It's within the swing, not before the swing. Okay? And that's what this clip here represents. He's able to create the stretch by stepping behind, and then right here, as he tips his barrel and pulls back like this, that leg resists that and starts to turn him open, and then he can snap the barrel through the zone. Understand the Happy Gilmore. He's creating the stretch with that drill. The timing of the tip is important. Okay? I didn't have a Gilmore, I just showed the timing of the tip. Now here's the Happy Gilmore. Ryan on the left gets the stretch. The girl on the right doesn't. Can you see it? The girl on the right has no pullback. I call this the pullback. She has no pullback against her move out to get her to land like this. If she has any pullback at all, which I don't think she does, she just stands here like this and does the Happy Gilmore like that. She's got no stretch. She didn't create any stretch. If you're going to work on the Happy Gilmore, and by the way, the Happy Gilmore produced this player. I mean, that's what he did every day, all day, from the time he was 12 until he went off to college. If you're going to do it right. You're not getting anything out of the drill doing it wrong.
The lateral tilt, does that assist with the pullback as well? Or do you think it's just more of getting hit behind the rear leg?
You coil into your leg, and then as you remain coiling,
Yep.
you lateral tilt. Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, I'm asking the lateral tilt. What's its main purpose? Would you say it's
Keeps
about
the
getting the
stretch.
hip? It
Keeps
keeps
the
the stretch
stretch.
and links it together. Like from the,
Yeah. If I coil like this and then swing forward instead of rearward,
Yep.
I'm going to push my barrel. I'm not using the stretch. But if I coil and then launch this way with this action here, the stretch just enhances. It just gets tighter and tighter, and the leg just drives the barrel through the ball. Okay, the lateral, you coil your body, and then you lateral tilt over the back of your ball, your femur to launch the swing.
So that's the function is it gets your hip behind your rear leg.
Yeah, you gotta
and links all the way up to the scap.
Yeah.
Like links everything.
Yep. Okay. There's several elements of the stretch. You got some better clips coming out there. Make it concise. There's 2 pivot points: the hand pivot point and the rear leg pivot point. And now we've got to learn to stretch them against each other to make a snap, a sudden snap of our swing. And he only hits like upper 200s, 280, 290, whatever. Hit 30 bombs last year, I think, or the year before. He's a great hitter. But the Cardinals bat him leadoff, and they want him taking strikes. And he's always in 2-strike counts. And he's a great 2-strike hitter. Okay? So, as a team player, he's doing what the Cardinals want him to do. My theory is, if he would not get in 2-strike counts so often, he'd hit 330. He's a great hitter. His mechanics are special. Okay? It's my theory.
Again, we'll look at it here, and then Gonzalez also, is when you talk about a foot stride, you want to make sure your foot stride's on you, but his hips are still in that internal rotation. He's still somewhat
Internal rotation of the hip is
coiled.
coil? Yes.
But
I would call that more external, but I don't.
Okay.
The leg is internal.
Yeah, but it's the foot strike is open instead of being neutral or closed. You want that to create that stretch.
Well, first I'll say I never look at my front foot, but let's see what happens. I'm okay with that. Okay? Barry Bonds landed closed with his front foot, but he had this right here. It's awkward for me to do that. It feels awkward. A lot of players, you will never hear me say much about the front foot and the back foot because it doesn't define what they're doing. I can show you 600 and some home runs from Jim Thome, whose back foot never did any more than that. I can show you 500 home runs from Albert had 500. He has 500
Yeah.
from Albert, and oftentimes his foot comes forward like that. They're both doing the same thing under the. Why the difference? Has to do with their stance, their hand set, their setup, the amount of forward momentum they use. All those different things come into play. And it's the same thing with the front foot. For every hitter that I show that you think is great that lands closed with his front foot, I can show you one that lands open with his front foot. So therefore, I don't think that's an important part of the swing because I can show you great hitters doing both and anything in between.
If you look at Matt Carpenter's front foot though, this swing kind of forces it open from the momentum.
Yeah, it kind of goes like that.
It goes because he's putting so much force into it.
Yeah. That also has to indicate somewhat that there's not a whole lot of weight on that foot prior to the swing.
You say he's putting so much force into.
I mean, he's just creating so much torque with his body that it's
Yeah.
torquing his front foot open.
Can you, I know with me, like, when I first learned from you, like, the first day, I honestly didn't get anything until we were right there. That's when, that was my.
I could tell at dinner.
But, can you demonstrate a hip coil? I think that'll help a lot of these
Yeah.
people. Because, like, I think that they're kind of looking at the feet more, but it's really a lot of your back hip.
Well, if you're looking from here to here, and then what I do up here, you're going to learn to swing. If you're looking down there, you're going to get lost. Okay? But I'm going to get into that stuff, Nick, when we get into this.
I think we were always taught the ground forces come from your front leg, and when the ground forces are from the rear.
It's completely from the rear leg. The swing is like you're driving down the road in your car 70 miles an hour, and your front end hits the telephone pole. Your front end, that's your front leg. What does it do? It forces the ass end of that car to swing around, right? And your front leg, when you swing into your front leg, instead of just falling forward, it's going to cause you to come through the zone. Okay? That's all the front leg does. And it's a block, but it's not a push back like some people think. So, as I've instructed over the years, I developed terms that say the same thing, or they mean the same thing, but they're different words. And some of you may have heard it this way, and some of you may have heard it that way. It's the same thing. If you have a question about something I've said to you before that I haven't brought up today, don't be afraid because it is part of the swing. Like the torsion spring, I talk about it a lot. I'll also talk about the slingshot, how you pull back against that leg and it slingshots you through, or the bow and arrow, kind of the same thing. I call it a rag ring. This load against your leg, when you go like this and your leg wants to go like that, it's kind of like you're ringing a rag. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of terms that I have developed that maybe I haven't used every one of them today. And if you have a question about them, let me know. But I'm going to go into some before and after stuff now. This little girl's dad joined my site. Yeah, maybe. Here we go. And this was the swing he sent me first. You know, a little 9-year-old girl, you say, oh, how sweet it is, but that swing sucks. Okay? You know, it's just not very good. All right? I spent, on my site, I never worked with this girl myself. I just spent a couple of, a couple of days maybe, on the site, showed him the Happy Gilmore drill, and this is her doing the drill. That's pretty special right there for a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Really special swing. Okay, it's a drill. Step behind, stretch behind your leg, turning the barrel. Okay, and this is the I don't have a full swing, but I have 2 parts of the swing. I couldn't find the full swing. This is her launch, but this is her launch. Her load, I guess, just prior to her launch. Notice you can feel her stretch against her leg. She loses her rear knee a little bit, kind of goes back toward the catcher. And there are some big leaguers that do that. I prefer not to see it. But this load, she's all ready to go. And this is the resulting barrel path that comes out of that swing, which is pretty special. She's got the depth of the barrel. Her rear leg is pulling, not pushing. She's turning the barrel with her forearms. And she's 9 at the time. She might be 11 or so now. And the last I heard from her dad is she's hitting the ball farther than anybody in her league. Okay? So that's a before and after. This gentleman is present. He's in our presence. Never worked with him in person, but he's been on our site for quite a while. On the left is not good. Okay, as you can see, he loses his rear. He might coil a little bit, but he loses his rear leg load as he moves forward. He shifts his weight, then he swings on the left. But on the right, notice how he keeps that rear leg loaded the entire time. The weight stays back. He shifts at launch. The body weight unloads into the launch of the ball. And watch the rear leg snap through. You can hardly even see it. It goes from the knee goes from facing the camera to facing the pitch instantly. Okay? And what put this swing together for you at the end?
At max stretch, launch the barrel. Like I was letting my weight come across my pelvis. And kind of said, launch. Don't get forward. Launch while you're back. Stay on the bar stool.
Everybody thinks they're back, but they aren't. You thought you were back on the left, didn't you? Yeah. Didn't you? There's a position that he gets to here that he doesn't get to here, and I'm going to try to demonstrate it for you. And I just talked to Jason about it. It's like the position, and I call it the hip slip. When you coil into your leg and start to move out, right there, right there, right there. Can you see what I'm pointing out? Where the leg starts to turn forward, and my hip socket is kind of falling back over the ball of the femur. Every one of you, if you learn to get to this position, you'll reach your potential. Absolutely. Right there. From this position, I can hit any ball. And also from that position, I can carry it a little longer if I need to for the off speed. It's all total rear leg control. Okay? If you're striding with your front leg, you're not achieving that position. You have no load in your rear leg. You have no ability to create what I call the deep whoosh, the barrel speed behind you. But right there, right there.
So, why do you call it a slip?
Hip slip?
Yeah, why do you call it slip, hip slip?
Well, because I can physically feel my hip socket going like that over the ball of my femur. It slips over the
do
back.
that again? The hip socket slipping over the ball of the femur. Okay.
Slips right there. It slips over the back of the ball of the femur, and the leg starts to turn forward, and that's the ultimate stretch right there. Okay, right there. In the Longoria clip, it was like this. Okay, when my center of gravity starts to lower, right there, my hip is slipping over the back of my ball of my femur. And I've told these gentlemen that we're working out this week, you can forget about the swing all you want if you learn to do this, because the swing is automatic from this position.
You know, that's, you know,
The swing
reading
is
a lot.
automatic from this position.
You know, that's, you know, reading a lot. You know, what you do, sometimes a lot of people, the hips, when people talk about hips, they'll talk like a whole unit, a fused unit. Would it be inaccurate if you said the hip socket slip?
Hip socket slip, the rear hip socket slip.
Is that?
That's more specific.
Yeah, that might be better when you're trying to, you know,
hip?
to get it, convey it.
The hip, the pelvis
The
is
hip
a full
socket
bone.
slip.
It doesn't. It's not several bone. It's a full.
Right, it's
unit.
fused, yeah.
So when it goes right there, the entire pelvis is pivoting back like this a little bit.
Right.
Okay. And from that position right here, this should be your goal. Whatever the pitcher's windup is, or a stretch, or whatever. At least by here, maybe a little later, maybe a little earlier, depending on how old you are and how quick you are. If you make the goal to get right there on time, you will hit. You will hit. There's no pitch you can't hit from there. There's no speed you can't handle from there. There's no off speed you can't handle there with practice. There's no movement you can't handle from there. Okay, that's pretty strong talk, right?
Yes, it is.
Some of these pictures have pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Some of these pictures have pretty good movement, but you got no chance handling it in any other technique. Is the point? Okay, you may not. If when you get to here and you thought the ball was going over there, and it starts moving in here, boom! You can still launch instantly. That's the key. I don't know if I said it enough, but what I am talking about is the time between your decision to swing and the actual launch of your swing. You hear everybody talk about exit velocity and bat speed and the time between launch and contact. No, all that's good stuff. But what's really special is when your swing is instantaneous between your decision to swing and the launch of your swing. If you have to reset your hands or you have to do some kind of movement in between your decision to swing and the launch of your swing, at some level, you're going to get eaten up by the pitching. You can't deal with it. You can't have, I call it slop. Slop in the swing. If you're here ready to swing, and when you swing, you got to do something like this, you're done. Pitcher's going to notice that, and he's going to eat you up. Okay? If you're here like this, and you're ready to swing, and you got to go like that to swing, you're done. You don't have time for that crap. Okay? You've got to be, whether you stride or no stride, you've got to be right there. Right at the hip slip spot, right there, on time, and you can handle anything that comes to you, okay, with practice. All right? On the right, just in a nutshell, if I can shorten it up, coil into your hip to where your leg is really stressed, pinch your scap so that whatever comes out of the leg comes up through the scap, lateral tilt more than you ever thought you needed to.
Yeah, one thing about the lateral tilt, that's away from the second baseman.
Yeah, away. That's good. Watch me. When I coil, where are my shoulders? If my pitcher's there, where are my shoulders? Toward the shortstop a little bit, right? The lateral tilt is the exact reverse of that. If I'm laterally, or if I'm coiled so my shoulders are there, my lateral tilt is this. It's strong. It's more than you think you should. Okay? So I come around like this, and as soon as I do that, my leg turns me, and that's why you don't see it in video. Because you see the turn and the lateral tilt maybe only this big, and you're looking at the shoulders. The shoulders may only look this big, but by feel, it was huge. It was a huge feeling, like I could fall over that way if my body wouldn't save me. Okay, so stress your leg, get your scap where it's scap. Whereas this scap is just a little pinching move. It's not a big back like that. You don't want your arm to move much. You definitely don't want your arm to do the pinching. Okay. Now, some players, you see their arm go back, but they're taking it back with their scap. Okay? So here I am, I'm coiled, I'm pinched, I've got a spiral load all the way up as far as I can go. And what my body wants to do is that. I've eliminated my arms. And that's huge. You got to get the feeling where your arms are not part of the swing, that this is the movement, and when you do this, with that, the bat snaps through the zone.
The lateral tilt is 100% rearward. You're not continuing lateral tilt as you turn.
The lateral tilt is over right there, but then the leg turns
It's
like
not
that.
back towards the catcher. I said that's
Right.
what don't have too much knees. I thought lateral tilt meant
Catcher,
to the catcher was.
instead away from the.
Yeah, I just figured that.
Think away from the opposite middle fielder. And when you coil, you've got to have two eyes in the pitcher. If you can't get a good coil without, and you lose your eyes while doing that, you've got to work on that. You're probably coiling like this instead of coiling like that. Okay, this is just a small move. It shouldn't have to move your shoulders.
That continues around when you lift your leg.
Yep. What's that?
That coil continues when you lift your leg.
This coil, or when I lift this leg?
Yeah.
Yep. See that? I'm as coiled as I can be, but when I lift my leg, I'm going to go like that to make sure it's set, it's tight. And then watch this leg when I do that. This leg turns forward right there. And as soon as you see this action here with I want to say the hips are open, but technically the hip is still coiled, and the leg has turned it. That's critical, okay? But for discussion, I'm going to say my hip leg is open, and I'm stretched back here, and that's where the power comes.
So again, you're as you're moving out, you're taking a ground out
Back,
ground.
yes. And it's more around.
Right.
It's more around like this than it is back like that.
Right.
Okay? All right? So if you're ever on Twitter and you see me argue with someone that the hips don't rotate, what do I mean? I mean exactly that. The hip coils and it stays in a state of coil the entire swing until the swing happens. Okay? If you're getting into a state of coil and then uncoiling your hips, you're going to push your barrel. You're not going to have any stretch. None of this is going to work. But the hip coils and the leg and the hip becomes a unit. It's like fused together at this point. And now the leg is everything. The leg is everything. Okay? Yep.
One more thing on the lateral tilt. You said tilt with in line with your shoulders.
Pretty much in line with your shoulders from the opposite middle infield.
So like if your shoulders are facing the shortstop, you would tilt exactly like that. If they're facing center field, you would tilt.
Well, I don't know if you're going to be close. I guess you might with an open stance. Yeah.
So it would be go with your shoulder.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there a place, Richard, for somebody who's just beginning to work into this, to start that's maybe better than another place? I mean, should you start?
Where do I start with somebody?
Well, no, I mean, as far as load goes and SCAP and all, I mean, if I'm asking the question right, I know those guys just told we'll start into the SCAP load earlier or
Preset the load.
Preset. As you're learning, I highly recommend you preset maybe even 100% of everything, and then lateral tilt and get the feeling of it, and that'll keep you encouraged because you'll feel the stand.
Because you and I talked about Bonds or Davis,
Yeah,
you know, they're
after we
trying
get real good at
let
it,
you go.
Barry Bonds could stand like this and instantly be in the position because he's done it all his life and he knows what he's doing. As you're learning a new technique, I recommend darn near 100%, if not 80%, and then you get the last little bit. You know, if you, we'll do some command drills, and the command drill is when you get into a fully loaded position and you wait for someone to say go, and you swing on command. Well, the beauty of that drill is it teaches you where you have to be able to swing on command. And what most people will do is they'll be here and they'll hear the command and then they'll go like this. Then they'll load and swing. You got no chance. You have to learn where the loaded launch position is so that on command you just go. Jose, they all have this engine right here underneath whatever they do. Whatever stand they stand from, whatever handset they stand from, these are the missing frames right here. Okay? The missing frames is this position of stretch, and then when this goes this way, this goes this way. And if you watch all the swings you ever see on Twitter or wherever you're watching swings, you're not going to see very many have that right there.
What's the seamless overlap?
Seamless overlap is kind of the same thing as the missing swing or missing frames. When I coil back like this and I continue on around, it's hard to determine where the actual launch was sometimes.
Right.
But and therefore it's a seamless overlap. But if I coil back like this and hold it and then push forward, it's really easy to determine what was load and what was launch. okay? So if I'm gonna do here, get to the hip slip position, it's kind of hard to do with slow motion, but that's a swing, hit my hip slip, and then I hit a fastball, okay? Then the next pitch is a change up, my hip slips, and I just carried it out a second or a tick longer. It's the same swing. I still swung around the load. The load went this way, but so did the swing. The load started around the circle, but so the swing finished the circle. That's the seamless overlap.
And that's allowing you in that zone much longer than quickly exit, you know, and so that you can have a timing error and still score the ball.
You guys ready to hit? Put the pressure in. I put the camera on yesterday and it broke down.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, in my office here, back from 10 days on the road, I've got something important to show you. Several kids were pushing with their top hand, and no matter how I asked them to swivel, they wouldn't swivel. As soon as they got a ball in front of them, whether it was a tee or a push, or I'm sorry, a tee or a toss, they would attempt to apply force into the ball. No, we do not apply force into the ball. We apply force into our handle, into the handle of the bat. And the bat is swiveled rearward into what I call autopilot. It creates an arc. The barrel is speeding around the arc, and then it hits the ball. And the only force we apply is into the handle to create this arc. So I had kids struggling to do that, so here's what I did. I had them get into a reverse top hand situation and take cuts where it's kind of like an oarlock. Your bottom hand is pulling against this top hand to create the arc of the barrel behind them, and then get them to obviously release the top hand, because that's all you can do from there, and allow the barrel to come around to the ball with great force that was created right here, not into the ball. And instantly they had a feeling for what autopilot was. Then I took it a step further and said, open your top hand and do the same thing with your top hand in a normal position, but open. And still pull the oarlock against the resistance of that thumb, and the same exact arc of the barrel occurred, and it whipped down into the ball. They were no longer applying force into the ball, they were applying force into their handle, and then the barrel came around to the ball. So then all you have to do, close your top hand, still do the same thing against your thumb, and you will create a whip behind you that automatically eliminates pushing of the barrel. Okay? Of course, all the other stuff's important. You get one-legged, you get a stretch and fire load around your leg. But what I have always demonstrated as my swivel is basically the same thing as the oarlock. When I swivel, the pressure that I create to send my barrel rearward is against my thumb. It's not my fingers pulling it over as much as it's my thumb creating the pressure to send that barrel, to swivel that barrel rearward. And of course my top hand pronates and helps that along. So I wanted to send this video to you guys, especially you guys with young kids. This was an instant change for several of the hitters in Wisconsin. Thanks for your time. All right. His handset is such that this is probably the best zone for this swing, but now the ball's up. So he's going to pivot his swivel a little bit to raise the swing plane. Just like that. See that? It's almost imperceptible, or hard to see. But it's not just the pivot of the hands, it's the turning of the swivel also. Just like that. You know, if you're using a regular tee or get under the ball, it's because you've set up your corner and you're really good, but then your hands go down like that to swing the barrel. And that's where the laser comes in. The laser is this move right here. Giancarlo does it really well. As he laterally tilts. Okay, you notice his hands get up and his barrel gets like that. Okay?
His lead elbow, Giancarlo's, and yours gets, and it's bent and it's up like this.
Call it jut the elbow.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
If your elbow collapses in like this, you're going to come around the ball. In fact, you can have a feeling that the contact is at jut. May not be perfect, but that's a reasonable boom. That's contact right there.
In the middle.
As soon as that elbow gets up like that, boom.
Right.
That's the concept. You stride,
Yeah.
you maintain the corner, and then you launch behind the corner. Okay? You don't launch forward of the corner.
But I'm going to get messed up with this, but like,
Yeah, you want to. That's your goal.
but this is the goal, you know?
Right. Try and get that left elbow up. Keep it up and bent.
You could be just be missing the pronation on the front arm.
Watch this. If your arm
You
is
supinate
I know,
the
it
top,
will go up.
if
pronate the
you're
lead.
turning the barrel with the right way, they will work independently of each other
If you could
together.
actively move your arm, wouldn't it be faster, you know?
Way better.
Definitely.
Way better.
Yeah.
What'd you do different?
Yeah.
Use my hand, like my hand.
You used your hands more? You
Pivot.
trusted your
Yeah. The
hands?
pivot. Yeah.
Did you swing that long green thing I got?
The same thing. What I try and do is when I was because I've been there where my hands were constantly working down. So what I try to do is I try to see how far away from my hands I can sit at the ball. So like this bat's 34 inches. That barrel's probably 26 inches away from my hands. So if I got 26 inches to work with, I tried to use all 26. You know what I'm saying? All 26.
Look where his elbow
That
is.
way my hands
It's not.
pretty high.
It's not that much when he swings, but you want to exaggerate.
I love that. What
Practice.
do you say? You look out the window.
Yes.
You with your kids, you do that. That's awesome.
My kids, when
Yeah.
I do snap drills, my kids, I get them in their command position, and then they snap it. But they have to snap it away from the second baseman, and it's never going to get quite there, like quite this high.
Yeah.
But you have to exaggerate it.
Right. Yeah. Because that's
No, and that's where I felt it. I felt it on that one.
This is your swing. Do that. Just hold it right out in front of you. Just turn it faster. Snap it. Snap it. More. Now let your shoulder come with it. Get under. That's it. Again. Harder. Snap it. Okay.
You say you're
A couple of those you're kind of wanting to go like this. No. Keep it on line. Get under. Get under. Yes. Okay. Snap it. Now. On the pitcher, load up and create your corner. Now snap it over here at me. Snap it. Okay, snap it. Now you're gonna snap it.
yeah. I think it's got to get out of the way.
Key is this, right?
You gotta get this elbow up.
Yeah. It's got to get out of the way.
I'm doing this, and then I turn my angle. It's the same thing. Gotta get under.
You like that thing?
Yeah. Really under it. You mean the yeah.
There you go. Snap it, snap it. Get your elbow up.
Left elbow up.
There
There you go. Better. Even more. Exaggerate it like John Cole.
Good.
Exaggerate even
Get
higher.
under. Get under. There you
Look
go.
through that window.
All right. Now, automatically, your body's aligning. It's helping. It may not be perfect, but it's helping. Okay. Now. Okay. Good. Good. Snap it. No. From back here. Snap it. Yes. Again, back here. Snap it. Snap a full swing.
That's
Let it
good.
go through. Let it
Yeah.
go. Better. What you're doing is you're bleeding a little bit, then doing it. Do it instantly. Make the snap. That's better. Make the snap break the.
Feels awkward.
Okay.
It is
Now-
out because you're
now
not
tip.
doing it from deep.
And he's not tilting at all. He's
Right.
trying to do it straight.
Yeah.
Try and hit a fly ball. Like try and hit it straight up in the air.
Yeah. No. Now you're not snapping.
What's happening?
No, now you're not doing this. You've lost the position of your hands to do this. Now you're kind of back here and you're doing other things. Here, set the bat on your shoulder. Here, the bat is now perpendicular to your arm, right? Mm-hmm. Snap it at that angle. All right, again. All right, that's the bat. Did that feel better? A little bit?
Yeah.
Now get up there and do that and just hit that ball, just that. Laser right there. It's a better swing. Imaginary laser beam is going to cross that ball like this, and then that barrel comes that move right there. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I didn't know that you were talking about like that's how the barrel had to go like that.
Yeah, raise the ball for me here. So I'm in my stance. If this is my hand set, my laser beam's right there. I've got my bat perpendicular to my forearm. Right, that's good right there. In my stance, that's like perfect. Okay? This laser beam is going to slash that ball like this, and the barrel comes right behind, right? like that. Come over here and do it.
I guess the only way to slice it through.
That's what you're talking about?
I'm talking about if I had a laser beam coming out of this now, pull that ball right there. It's gonna slash it right there. You follow me?
Yeah.
The laser beam will slash that ball and the barrel will follow. The laser first, then the barrel. Ball's up here, the laser first, then the barrel. Ball's right there, laser, and then the barrel. And it's gonna force your body to do this stretching that it has to do to get power. As compared, let me show you wrong. As compared to when you do this, and then the laser turns like that. You follow me? When that's a barrel push. You're now trying to push the barrel to get some speed. When you do this, like this, I'm gonna laser there, I'm gonna laser here, I'm gonna laser there, you follow me? There's no movement, no adjustment you have to make before you swing.
Yeah.
You can just turn it to the ball. Now, the high pitch we talked about yesterday, there's a little bit of adjustment there, this. Okay, but short of the extreme pitches, there's a big part of the play here.
No, yeah, the part you want to hit.
The part you want to hit, absolutely. You have no adjustment for any bit of it. This whole area you can drive your barrel through without adjustment. Okay? So the laser, the feeling to me is the laser snaps that ball or slashes that ball, the barrel comes right along the green thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
So right here, just like this.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna tell you, that's gonna do wonders for you.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
That looks funny, Coach.
Let me just hold the ball. You can set up. You're in your stance. The ball's here. Laser this ball. Yes. Okay.
That's
set
not
up.
like a slice though. Feels like it would be a slice.
You're gonna follow right through it. Go ahead. If you're turning that barrel hard, you're gonna follow right through that ball.
Yeah, I mean, I hit that. I mean, like I said, like I crush anything away. So it's like, I mean, that's what I
Laser this
crush.
ball. Just like that. Laser this ball. Basically, when you have this laser concept, you're on plane.
Yeah.
Almost every pitch. Load.
Swing.
I can't hear you.
You gotta scream it, Brian. What is that?
Oh, you can't hear me? My bad.
So you're going go, right? Or
What are you gonna say?
No, I say load and then swing.
All right.
Make sure they load up.
I'll give you more time. Sorry. Load.
first,
Swing. Load up. Go.
Not bad.
All right, load up. Go.
Good listening.
All right, load up. Go.
first,
Load up. Go. All right, load up.
Not bad.
Go.
Good listening.
All right, load up. Go. Load up. Go.
How long can you do this and not swing? Nice.
That was good.
That was the best one.
That's
Yeah.
the best one. There's no rush to that, right? Oh, I like that. I love that.
Yeah.
You were